second year of a small Pixel Pro throws up some new questions, new complaints, but ultimately, is the Pixel 10 a better buy than the Pixel 10 Pro? Well, here's everything you need to know in this video. So you might think that the Pixel 10, because it looks the same, is going to mean you're going to be able to use those old cases. Well, yeah, they're not going to cut it. So you're going to need a decent case and accessories from our channel sponsor, dbrand. If you have one of the lamer colours, like I have the Obsidian model, then a MagSafe compatible skin might be worth a look for you. Look at that gorgeous hollow white. That definitely looks much better. The grip case though is the best of both worlds if you want to bulk up the protection but add a little extra flavour. All of these skins are compatible over there. I'm personally a big fan of the Ghost Case 2.0 because, well, I ain't covering that Moonstone Pixel 10 Pro XL. It fits like a glove, adds extra grip, adds all the perfect cutouts, and look, it even has double magnets for double MagSafe. Even the Prism screen protectors are completely idiot-proof for people like me who struggle with screen protectors. The screen's much better on the Pixel 10 and these work perfectly with that fingerprint scanner. No problems, super easy to apply, and the perfect protection for that display. If you want to add a little extra flavour and spice to your own Pixel 10, then get yourself kitted out via the link down in the description below. Right, I've got to say, don't expect much change from the Pixel 9 design this year. The Pixel 10 and 10 Pro are practically identical to the previous generation. Although we knew that ahead of time, this is both a good thing and a bad thing in my book. I think it's a good thing because it's consistent and it creates design consistency, but it's a bad thing because, well, in some ways it's samey, and a lot of people don't like samey things, and it's hard to see what's actually changed with these devices. Luckily though, the Pixel 10 has a brand new camera lens, so you can spot that from a mile away. The Pixel 10 Pro doesn't have any big ticket additions to its hardware. They are practically the same size as they were last year, almost the same weight, but the camera bar is marginally bigger on both of these devices, so that means you've got no option to use last year's cases. Not that you'd want to, because Pixel Snap means MagSafe without a case for the first time on both of these devices. I think this is one of the biggest and best additions to this series, and this is going to be a really big boon for the Pixel lineup. Not requiring a case to add chargers, docks, car brackets, and all camera accessories that you can think of is a really, really good thing, and Apple's groundwork means that Google will gain from a massive portfolio of accessories just by adding this circular magnet at the back of the phone. It's overdue, but it's very welcome, and it was all added with just 0.01, I think it is, or 0.1mm of thickness to both of these phones. So yeah, really nice addition. That is about the only major hardware change on both of these, although there is something else we're going to talk about in a moment. And like last year, the displays, they diverge a little bit. The Pixel 10 Pro has a QHD Plus panel, while the Pixel 10 has a Full HD Plus panel. Both of these 120Hz rated. The cheaper phone does have those thicker bezels, and because it's not LTPO, it lacks some of the dynamic refresh rate changes that can go all the way down to 1Hz. There's also some PWM changes which are only available on the Pro model. They're both super bright panels though. They get up to 2000 nits on the Pixel 10 and 3000 on the Pixel 10 Pro, or just above 3000. That's really, really bright. You're going to see this in every single lighting environment. They're still using Gorilla Glass Victus 2 for display protection, and on the back plate, it's a screen protector you're probably going to need from the front, and you're going to use a case anyway, so yeah, it's necessary, at least in our experience with both of these devices. Regarding the internal specifications though, the Pixel 10 comes with 12GB of RAM like the Pixel 9 did last year. It comes with 128GB or 256GB storage options. The Pixel 10 Pro runs the same for the most part, but shipped with 16GB of RAM and wider storage choices available from 128GB all the way up to 1TB with zoned UFS. And you need to do something here to get that faster UFS 4.0 storage in both these devices. You're going to have to use or buy 256GB models because this faster storage option is not available on the base model. That means the 128GB will be UFS 3.1, which is the slower, older tech. So yeah, bear that in mind if you are looking at these. So we know the Pixel 10 offers distinct aesthetics of its own with those color variants. It provides options such as indigo, frost, lemongrass, and the Obsidian model, which I have here. They are most definitely brighter and more vibrant selections for this standard phone, but you still have those matte side rails with glossy back panels, and I do think the Obsidian model particularly is really bad for grabbing fingerprints. The Pro line naturally features more corporate palettes, at least as far as I'm concerned. The new colours include Moonstone, Jade, Porcelain and Obsidian. Once again, you get glossy side rails and a matte black back plate for the Pro model. So yeah, choose wisely if you're choosing on colours alone. As for software, on the Google Pixel 10 and 10 Pro, you are largely getting the exact same software experience. Most of the core AI or Google AI suite is fully integrated across both these devices, Some of that is thanks to Tensor G5. Google says that this is at least tuning as a result of this new processor, which means some certain things are now able to run offline or at least locally. Both models actually launch with Android 16 QPR1 pre-installed, so it's the most up-to-date version of Android, and there is a minor period of exclusivity, as it were, before this rolls out widely to the Pixel 6 and newer. I do think it's the better, or at least a lot better, than the Pixel 9, which launched with Android 14 before getting Android 15, which wasn't even that big an update in and of itself later in the year. There is the default promise of 7 years of OS security and Pixel drop updates, so at least in theory, these phones will be supported with OTAs until August 2032. Whether the hardware will last that long is another question entirely, and we might try and revisit this if we're still around at that point in time. Common AI features include Gemini Nano, the built-in Gemini AI Assistant, Gemini Live, Gemini Apps, Pixel Screenshots, but Magic Q is one of the big ticket items which gives you proactive information suggestions in your applications like messages, email, all that kind of thing. Circle to search is available here. You've got Live Translate, which is a really nice feature when you're making calls. And naturally, there are some other options like Pixel Studio, there's Auto Frame, Reimagine, Magic Eraser, and Best Take and Photo Unblur as well. The Pixel 10 series is the first to feature Camera Coach and Auto Best Take, so you don't miss out on by going with the cheaper phone as well. Yeah, it's consistent across both of these devices. Interestingly though, the Pixel 10 does feature a slightly larger battery capacity of around 4,970 mAh compared to the Pixel 10 Pro's 4,870 mAh. We don't even know the reason for this change because, as I say, the footprint on these devices remains almost identical. Both do support fast charging up to 55% in around 30 minutes or so with a 30-watt USB-C charger, which I do think is somewhat slow by modern smartphone standards, but the addition of 15 watts, yes, it isn't 25 watts on these devices, Pixel Snap wireless charging, means that you don't get the full 25 watts that is touted by the Qi 2 standard, but it will be fast enough for most people, especially if you're using extra accessories. Using the fan-assisted power block, aka the Pixel Stand 2nd Gen, you can get 21 watt charging on the Pixel 10 Vio wirelessly and 23 watts on the Pixel 10 Pro. So yeah, there's a decent amount of charging options this year, one more than it was in the past. So I will say there is a lot of things to contend with that we didn't have last year on this base model and naturally the middle model. That's because the Pixel 10 has downgraded the main and ultra-wide sensors, but it is joined by the first telephoto on a base model Pixel. At 5x and 10.8 megapixels, I will say it's solid if unspectacular. Super Res Zoom is supported up to 20x and it is really fun to play around with. Those two other lenses though, the downgraded lenses, are ripped directly from the Pixel 9a, which is a bit of a questionable decision. That said, I do think the results are decent. It's just a step back from the Pixel 9, which is strange to say out loud, with its bigger main sensor, and it means you might not get such or as good low light performance with a single shutter press. You may need to use night sight in a lot more places. Software tuning has definitely helped the 9a's camera system, but you will get much better camera experiences with the Pixel 10 Pro over the Pixel 10, no matter how you cut it. And on that, at least on that phone, there's 100 times ProRes zoom included for the first time, which is basically AI powered and enhanced images, which I will say is genuinely shocking how good some of these can improve blocky photos, especially at that really far upper echelons of your zoom radius. You will potentially get some bugs and downgrades here and there because of how the AI processes, but I will say it is very impressive when you see it for the first time. There's also a few functions like Camera Coach and Auto Best Take. As I say, they're both available on both these devices, so you're not missing out if you do want extra features as well. I do think if you want the best for photos, it's definitely easier this year to recommend the Pixel 10 Pro, as it's just more capable than the Pixel 10, although I will say kudos to Google for making the Pixel 10 a little bit more flexible by adding that telephoto, something we've asked for a long time already. So to round everything out, the addition of a telephoto lens on the Pixel 10 does mask some other little changes to the camera system that I think make it a little bit harder to recommend than we initially expected we would be recommending this. You will still get good results with the camera system, and it is going to be at a much lower price, as the Pixel 10 Pro now starts at $1,099, which seems a little bit steep as far as I'm concerned. I would suggest most people definitely close that gap a little as the Pixel 10 starts at $799 and go for the 256GB model over the Pixel 10 Pro if you just want the base model. That faster UFS 4.0 storage is going to give you a bigger performance uplift and ensure you have a snappy experience plus all of the good stuff with Android 16 QPR1, and all of the AI functions do remain intact. I think it's great that you can get the best of Google in a small footprint when we're talking about Pro phones, so anyone looking at the Pixel 10 Pro will be very happy with their purchase. Maybe it's a tougher sell this time around as the Pixel 10's upgrades do diminish the novelty a little bit, but you don't need to settle quite as much if you can stomach that extra price increase. I would say just avoid the 128GB version of either of these phones and you will thank me later. But that said, I want to ask you, I want to open the floor to you, what do you think of these two devices? Which is the better buy, and have you picked one up? Let me know down in the comment sections below. Thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.